What's up, everybody?
Hello, beautiful people. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. Welcome back to what is this? This is our sixth consecutive week of Sunday sessions. And I'm not even gonna lie, I'm a little excited. I don't know if I thought we'd be able to go this many weeks. I don't know if I thought people would be hanging on with us or hanging out with us for this long. But it's definitely been encouraging for you all to be here. Woohoo. If you haven't already, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you can get alerted. Consider joining our community. You can do that either through YouTube, through the YouTube membership program, or through Patreon. And we are also looking for volunteers to help us build infrastructure and really undergird this community all the way around. And also, if you're looking for some dope merch, I think we have some of the dopest merch out there. So please feel free to check that out. And you can do so right here on YouTube. I need to probably start remembering to share the Teespring store thing in our chats and stuff.
Yeah, we have to remember that. Or even pop up a shirt at the end.
Pop up, throw a little shirt in there. Listen, if you've signed up for our email list or to volunteer, please make sure that you're checking your spam for our messages. We have been getting a few notifications that some people didn't see it, but when they check their spam, they have been finding it. So make sure you're checking there. Also, I will be a guest host on Ichabod's Exit Strategy this Tuesday. What's up, peeps? On Exit Strategy this Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. And I've already looked at a few of the things we plan on talking about. It's going to be a phenomenal episode. I'm filling in for Jay Witt. And so please, if you have some, you got some time on Tuesday, holler at us. I'll also be a guest on Talk Heathen after debuting on the ACA's Truth Wanted. This will be on June 9th, so you'll have plenty of time to prepare to be in the chat. Also, I'll be a guest with Maya Atkinson for Bad Science Sunday on their Father's Day edition, and that's going to be Father's Day, so that's June 16th, and that'll be that Sunday evening.
You are booked and busy.
Booked and busy, and busy is an understatement. And just to kind of share, we do have some upcoming projects that we'll be doing here. We are planning to do another group therapy. Last time I had David McDonald and Tom Smith with me. I think I'm bringing Tom Smith back again, and so I'm gonna see who else we can get in there. I'm also working on doing an ex-pastor call-in show with Kyle Butler. I don't know if you checked out his content yet, but he's also a former pastor, now atheist, now free thinker. And after an experience I had with Dr. Darrell Ray on Skeptic Haven, where someone called in and I was basically able to provide them with some secular encouragement, motivation, inspiration, counseling, if you will, I realized that, a lot of us who've served in the pastoral field, we do kind of have that attentiveness where we can kind of help people navigate things. And so we thought it would be a really neat call-in show. It's not a debate show. It'll be somewhere that people can call in and whatever they want to talk about, whatever they feel they need some kind of help navigating. And we'll kind of do our best as ex-pastors to provide some advice, some insight, whether it's them trying to work through their own deconstruction, work through fears of hell, or all of those type of things. Also, we'll be partnering with Skeptic Haven and Dr. Jay Bundy on a Black Atheist call-in show. And so that's going to be exciting. And I think there's quite a few people who are going to be involved with in that. And so I'm looking forward. So be on the lookout. And then today is Malcolm X's birthday. For those of you who didn't know, we every year we're kind of mindful of this. As a matter of fact, I think the Memphis, we either released it on his birthday or the day that he died. It was one or the other. My first novel. Because the main character in that novel's name is Malcolm Memphis, and he is somewhat patterned after Malcolm Little or Malcolm X. El Haj Malik Shabazz. All right, so let's give some broader community announcements. We said we wanted to start doing this, just to support the community. I wanted to remind you that every Sunday evening, there's Bad Science Sunday with Maya and friends. Wasn't on the calendar. I figured, Not Church, also known as Nurch, is also every Sunday morning, actually before hours, on Ichabod with Brady Goodwin, Albert Kim, and Jay Witt. I was actually watching a little bit of it this morning, and the conversation was absolutely phenomenal. Man, Jay Witt be dropping stuff. Like, I'd be like, he's like no nonsense with it. But please support them on Sunday mornings before jumping on over here. Skeptic Haven has a variety of shows throughout the week. Like, they are really putting in the work. What if he would have remained atheist? Always wondered. Absolutely. And the closer he gets to the end of his life, it becomes very clear that he was separating more and more from those religious superstitions, which he was already there at the height of his kind of career, for lack of better words, or vocation with the Nation of Islam, because he started making statements that really made people uncomfortable, such as, hey, when we come to do this work, religion should be personal. And that's something, if you're a faithfully religious person who's bought into it, you don't say stuff like that. Islam definitely doesn't believe that religion is personal, but nor does Christianity, even though it tries to pretend like it does. But yeah, man. And that's part of the reason why I kind of wrote that novel, or that's at least what it started as. It definitely evolved into something much bigger. But it started with wondering, what would it be like if a Malcolm X type of character, actually, learned from the mistakes of the past, separated himself from religious ideology, because now Malcolm is someone I've done a lot of study on. So, like, even the day he exactly, certainly. But yeah, Malcolm is, that he has a special place in my heart and in my mind. I've read so much about him that sometimes I can hear his voice in my head. He was definitely more of a humanist than people gave him credit for. Even though he did, he said some harmful things, which were product of the Nation of Islam type of theology. But the beauty about Malcolm is that we got to watch that brother evolve in real time. And I know this is going to be an unpopular statement, but if you ever compare the morality of Malcolm with the morality of Martin, you'd be quite surprised at who comes out on top there. Malcolm was just a class act of a man, And I hate that his legacy sometimes gets marred in the way that it does. But I will say Denzel Washington did it justice. I will say that. And the Stacey's Mom podcast is on Mondays, and then of course I didn't put Tim on here, but Tim Mills and the Harmonic Atheist, he's putting out content almost everywhere. Mindset for the better. Yes, absolutely, hands down. If you're ever interested, I actually have. Wow, I can imagine. Holy snap. If you're ever interested, I do have that final speech that Malcolm was getting ready to give the day that he was assassinated. And it is eye-opening, about what his plans were. And most people don't know Malcolm's father was a Garveyite, which, Malcolm's parents were Garveyites. Both of them worked for Marcus Garvey. There's some rumors there, but I'll have that offline. But Malcolm's plan that he was going to present on the day that he was, Nation of Islam, that he was going to present the day that he was assassinated. I do actually have that speech where he outlined that. So if anybody is interested, holla at your boy. I have a very extensive personal library. I also have the trial of the trial documents from Marcus Garvey's trial when he was. I was about to say expedited. That's not the word. What is the word?
Extradite.
What? No, that would be the opposite. There's a word there. Oh yeah, yep. Oh, definitely wacky. There's so much wacky stuff out there. There's the Morse. All right, definitely. shoot me your email. You can do it on Facebook, or you can Facebook me. If you Facebook me, then I can just share you the link in Facebook. But also, if you shoot me your email, if I don't already have it yet, then I'll definitely send that over for sure. Okay, so y'all know we started doing sharing some forms to help people get connected. One of those forms, why every time I say that, I feel like Ice Cube. We got some forms, we got some forms, and one of them is how may we help, or how can we help? I think it is how may we help on the thing though. But it's and it's just ways to get more connected to things that you're looking for from secular community, what we should be doing more of, less of, some things that we're not doing at all, or just some questions you wanted to share, or just some general things you wanted to ask. So last week, someone asked for literature on activism, and we shared that on last Sunday. And then I also, just this morning, I've been late, sent them over a resource where they'll have access to some of the things that are in my library. So this week's is, right? They have always been conjoined. I agree. This one was, please keep inspiring people to launch secular communities. Thank you. We definitely will. And my question is, how can I help? Well, isn't that funny? They filled out the how can I help form with the how can I help question. I love it. I love it. The thing was, what I'd say is how you can help. Number one, support Sunday sessions like you're already doing, just with your viewership. And with your finances if you can, which we'll talk about that later. And consider volunteering with us and work with the Bridge to undergird these efforts. And then last but not least, start having conversations with other free thinkers in your locality to pull together a team of at least 5 people to start experimenting with the Bridge community where you are. And you can check out the links in the descriptions to find out how to get more involved. All right. So now before we jump into everything else, there is one thing that I wanted to do, and that's I wanted to kind of discuss Bridge City membership and volunteer stuff, because we're now starting to get people to fill out these forms. And right before I left to California, I was freaking out a little bit because I was like, holy snap, someone filled out the form and, they want to join this community. They want to connect with this community and they want to help build with this community. Those were the options they chose. And I'm like, you know what? I don't even have anything for them to do. So literally 2 days before I went on my trip, I spent those 2 days pulling together some information. It's not pretty yet, which is why I've not sent it out. But those who have filled out the forms, I have emailed them and let them know that we are working to get this information out. And so just some things that I wanted to share from it for those of you who are wondering, who may be on the fence, man, what does it mean to join this particular community, this thing that you all are doing on Sunday sessions? The Bridge is the overarching goal of getting more and more secular communities built. Bridge City is the secular community that we're specifically building online right now. And when you think about building online community, it's not as intuitive as building on-site community. So just to kind of give you some insight, what we'd be looking for members and volunteers is, we'll start with members, is to learn by attending and participating in group conversations. And these group conversations are about community, or you're learning about community, you're learning about people, and you're learning about life and your possibilities in it. We're also launching, I'm still in the Discord room. We're also launching pre-session meet and greets on Discord. And post-session meet and greets, or post-session hangouts on Discord, so that we'll have more opportunity to have conversations with each other. That link is in the chat. We'll share it again once we get to the end of today's conversation. So the first one was learn by attending and participating in group conversations. The second thing is grow by exploring and engaging in diverse ideas and perspectives. And that's, you're growing in yourself, you're growing in your relationships, and ultimately growing in community. And then that third thing is, support by volunteering and giving according to your capacity. And what you're supporting is community development, social change, and ultimately people progress. And when we ask people to volunteer, we kind of give you some levels of volunteering so that you don't burn yourself out. You can volunteer as a supporter, member, leader, or organizer. And those are just time commitments. If it's a supporter, it's just like less than 5 hours a week, member 5 to 10 hours a week, leaders, so on and so on. And there are quite a few volunteer opportunities now. You can be a part of the online campus team, the online groups team, new members team, homemakers team, Discord, YouTube, Facebook, Patreon team. Ooh. Okay, so now, you know what? I have so many versions that are running into my mind. Not, I hope not bridge over troubled water, even though we are a bridge over troubled waters. You know, you now I'm thinking about it now. But you know what went through my mind? It was a Timberland and Justin Timberlake song. Take it to the bridge.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
could be an outro.
That could be an outro. That'd be a dope outro. You can be a part of the care team, first response team, production team, StreamYard team, chat team, or the arch team. So there are a lot of opportunities to volunteer and get involved. All right. I've wasted enough time. I think we can kind of jump into this. I hope we said some things that gave you a little bit more insight, but you know, I'm hyper productive, so it is what it is.
Yes, and that's great. And the segue into that, last week, we wrapped up our first official Sunday session conversation series where we had an incredible time thinking through some fundamentals for building healthy secular communities while also giving you a sneak peek into the community experiment that we're calling the Bridge, right? And if you haven't catch last week's episode, we talked about how to create supportive communities, so go check that out as well. But this weekend, we're slightly deviating as we launch a new series of conversations suggested by one of our subscribers and voted on by our subscribers and our patrons. So welcome in everybody to
How the
Human Conversation.
And major shout out to Carrie, Carrie Ann. She's the one who made this suggestion, and I thought it was incredible.
Yeah, so we have a few questions for you to think about as we go through today and moving forward. What does it mean to be human? How do we define that? What determines those definitions? What happens when other humans don't meet those definitions? How often are those definitions allowed to change? And how do we learn how to human? We're going to wrestle with all of these questions and more for the next 5 weeks. And today we like to set the tone for those conversations by taking a trip back into time. So we're going to dive into some history here to get some perspective on the human experience as it has evolved over the ages.
I love it. I love it. So I hope y'all are ready for this. This is going to be some interesting conversation today. So we want to start here, and this is just how did we get here, and perhaps how long have we been here in regards to how long have we been questioning what exactly does it mean to be human, or in many regards, when we say what it means to be human, sometimes we're really saying what does it mean to be like me, because oftentimes what I find when people try to when people define what it means to be human, they're typically just defining what it means to be acceptable to them. You ever think about that? These are the things that I like. And so it's 2024, and I'm curious, what does it mean to be human to you? And this is an open and honest question, no judgment. And I'd really like to see some of your answers in chat here. What does it mean to be human to you? Do you have any categories of existence, desire, behavior, or activity that you would designate as subhuman, inhuman, or inhumane? You know, so you know, yeah.
Thank you, Mr.
Rockin', yes. What does it mean to be human to you? Are there any categories of behavior, desire, activity that you would designate as subhuman, inhuman, or inhumane? So for example, I think an easy one, as a Black man, I can say I consider slavery inhumane. Right. Yeah. And I don't just say that as an African American. There are plenty of places today where there still is a very real type of chattel slavery, a chattel slavery, or however people pronounce it, people slavery, that's where people become property. It still happens, you know. Also, there are still places in this country where if you identify as gay, you know, or differently gender loving or whatever, you can get your head chopped off. Yeah. I would definitely kind of consider that inhumane. You know, I'd have a hard time seeing the humanity of treating people that way. So I'm very curious, and just as we're going through this conversation, what are some things that you really think about? Boop. What are some things that you think about when it comes to what it means to be human? How to human? How do we define what is human? Toxic behavior.
Yeah, because you
That
can
is
throw a
good.
lot in there.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
toxic behavior. Yeah.
Yes,
Mhm.
indeed. Yes, indeed. And it's funny because I think the more we explore this, I think we'll find that we do all kind of have some things that we consider lines not to be crossed.
Yeah.
We have some things that we consider, okay, this. I know for me, it's normally, for example, like I'm doing a lot of talking about this American Airlines fiasco this week. But I was sharing with somebody that I would have almost preferred to have had robots in the airport instead of the people who work there, because robots would have been more humane. But because to me, when I think about humanity, and this just me, and I think you'll kind of figure out by the time we get through today's conversation that I don't feel like I have a definitive identity of what it means to be human or how to human. This is an exploration. Please don't think I'm up here trying to tell you how to human, because uh, you know but to me, when I think of, just trying to being humane to other people, is really trying to consider, and that's why we did try to build this conversation, or these conversations, off of the idea of empathy, of
Yeah.
being empathetic towards other people, for sure. So we all have instinct, that's fine. But as long as when we play on our instinctual behaviors, we don't oppress or otherwise offend others personally. Absolutely. And again, that kind of goes back to that idea of considering others. But apes
Yeah.
often bash each other over the head. And I think I'm reading a book by Sam Harrison now that was just given to me this week, by David Cohen. Look up the name if you're interested. But the name of the book was, I think, The Moral Landscape, and there's a story that he shares in that, where he talks about, a guy hitting on his wife, at a gym, and his wife comes and tell him about it. Um, oh, incredible!
Yeah.
But he started to realize that he was getting upset, and when he started to critically engage that, he was realizing, oh, this is coming from that ape brain, where I just want to bash, territorial. This is mine. I have to protect my evolutionary offspring, type of thing. And I thought that was just a very healthy way to think about it. But yeah, definitely. I when I think of trying to be human and trying to be humane, I try to think of ways to just be considerate of other people, and we'll talk about that,
Yeah.
a little more.
And that's
Um,
in so many ways.
yeah,
Because even off the small things, like being considered wherever you go, like people getting mad of the clothes you wear or how you wear or how you talk, every little
yep,
thing. It's like we have the intelligence to move past the small things.
absolutely. Because when I think about how do we define what is human, I also think about how do we separate any human activity from being by default human.
Yeah.
If it's a human that's
That's
engaging
doing it.
this activity is by default considered human, activity. So I always struggle with dog whistle words such as unnatural, because it fails on the same premises as supernatural. And so the big point here is that I think that there is a learning curve in healthy human interactions,
Yeah.
and what it may mean to be human. I don't think it's intuitive as we like to think about it at all. And so, when I think about, oh, absolutely, I've seen it pretty convincingly argue
Separate.
there is
Yeah.
no trait we have, that another creature doesn't. And Alyssa, that is a very good point, and that is a topic that comes up in this conversation in our notes. So thank you for highlighting that. Eat with our mouths closed and view open mouths impolite. Complete opposite in China. You have to look past. That's right. Absolutely, which kind of reinforced in, I've been watching Shogun lately. I have a friend that wants to do a channel with me, a friend from work that wants to do a segment with me on the show Shogun. So we might do it. Um, so examining instances where societal progress was a choice informed by embracing differences, leading to significant societal advancements. That's a random note I have in my notes here. Basically because, and I forgot to say this, we're pulling these particular notes and these level of questions. This is actually something that we designed for diversity classes for corporate people, and we've now restructured this for community conversation. But we're going to talk a little bit about differences here, because a major part of humanity seems to be, embracing differences. These differences are often the results of cultural or group norms formed by various environments and experiences. And so ultimately, I think one thing that we can all agree on, at least as we're thinking about, Not all animals are models for us to follow. Now that is true. Not all animals are models for us to follow. But I'll also say not all people are models for us to follow
Yeah.
either. But yeah, I can definitely see that nuance and appreciate it there.
Absolutely. And so I think we just have to learn how to celebrate curiosity of the individual human experience to help people get comfortable in learning from those experiences
Yeah.
of others, right? Nearly every time we have looked at the cultures and experiences of others as a possible way of better understanding ourselves and the world around us, it has elevated our understanding of what it means to be human. So I think celebrating that individual human experience is definitely needed, because then that's diversity right there.
It is.
You're learning different aspects of life, right?
Yep.
And so okay, exactly, yes.
And so I think our increasing humanity towards others has been highly correlated with embracing the differences of others. A major part of being human or humane is accepting that other humans or that others human differently than you. Life, in my opinion, is like the big elephant, and we're all the blind people experiencing it, doing our best to describe what we're interacting with. And it requires a humility of understanding that my experience doesn't nullify anyone else's experience. I mean, the evidence might, but for sure, my experience by itself does not nullify anybody else's experience. And so that a major part of being human is being empathetic and being open to hear other people,
Right.
even when what they're saying or what they're choosing to do or how they're choosing to live is different from the way you're choosing to live. Because at the end of the day, there's a reason for that. Even if it's not reasonable, there's still a reason for that. Man.
I have a side question. Do you believe, how people say, well, I see things differently, or even those who have modified sight of color or structure, do you think that plays a role into how they view?
Well, I don't know if modified sight in that way would necessarily make a difference, but just modified experience. If you grew up raised by two parents in a neighborhood with picket fences and everybody had pets and all the pets knew each other, the way you human is likely going to be different than a person who grew up with a single parent in a neighborhood that or had to move from neighborhood to neighborhood to neighborhood to neighborhood their whole life. Lived in a neighborhood where dogs were not pets, but were more like wild feral animals. Those two people are going to human differently. So it's not necessarily about your physical differences. We all live very different lives, and so to really expect someone who lived a life that has nothing to do with your life to come to the same conclusions about life that you came to is somewhat magical thinking, which is easy to do, especially when we're younger. We believe that our experiences are a microcosm of everything that is. But when in all actuality, it's just like, nope, this is just what's here. Your family isn't a microcosm of all families. Your dogs are not a microcosm of all dogs. And so, there's a whole world out there. So there's more to know. And I think one of the reasons I am anti-superstition is because the temptation of superstition is to know things without trying to know them, is to know things without actually informing yourself on those things. It's like little shortcuts to learning, which again was very useful at one point in our evolutionary process. But as of now, it's no longer useful. In many cases, it's harmful and even detrimental for people who can't figure out why they can't move their lives forward. Sometimes it's because there's a lot of superstitions that they've attached themselves to, as opposed to critically engaging their experience. But the big point is, like, our experiences shape how we human.
Yeah.
The families we were born into, the communities we were a part of, the schools we were a part of, the nations, the politics that we apply ourselves to. It's very difficult sometimes to think of ourselves in this manner, but we are highly suggestive. We are highly influenced. Which is why y'all have heard me talk about it before. I don't necessarily buy into the idea of humans being creators. From what I see, humans are more like generators. We're like computers. We require input to output, so there is no art that is created that wasn't created based off of input first. That's literally what inspiration is. It's input. And so in order for an artist to be create something, they have to be inspired. That input has to come first. That's a whole nother other subject. Okay, so let's talk about this a little bit more. This was something that was actually in the diversity program that I designed, and that was that better people relations equal better business outcomes. And when I first looked at this, I was like, "Ooh, I don't know if this is going to work for community." Even though you all know I do have some thoughts on business, but I got lost in my notes like a day and a half ago, and I mean like a beautiful mind lost, looking at some of these things in here. Right, exactly. If there's no, we have no evidence of output without input. And that is definitely true. I've seen some elephants just be like amazing with their sense of compassion and empathy. So this is going to be a little different, but I promise you, if you follow along with me on this journey, we do have to discern. And you know what? I think that's the whole key, though, right? Is that there are no shortcuts for everything. You actually have to pay attention. Yeah. We have to know the knowledge of darkness. Come on now, let's get philosophical out here. That's it. Okay, we're about to take a little turn, and I hope y'all are ready for this. But hang with me, because I promise you, this will challenge you and possibly help in a lot of ways, and especially for those of you who are building community.
Thank you.
Ooh, yes. Today we're talking about how to human, and we just got to the tricky part. So you're in the thick of the woods. We up to this point, we've talked about the ideology that the human experience is incredibly diverse. But now I'm about to get into a subject about our area about better people relations equal better business outcomes, which I believe in resulting in fulfilled individuals and stronger communities. And so I know many people are probably wondering, if we're supposed to be talking about how to human, and we're supposed to be talking about empathy, and we're supposed to be talking about community, how did you come to business? All right. And that's why, so just walk with me here a little bit. The tricky part. Yes, we're in the thick of it, Watch this. I don't find it to be a coincidence that much of human proclivity to embrace the differences of others historically has been rooted in motivations for commerce, trade, and economic sustainability. Okay, this is just the tip of the iceberg, right? Now, and this is for the most part on point. This is on par. The majority, for the most part, the human species in its early days, thank you. The human species in its early days was highly resistant to other different people groups. We were very tribalized, very group-based, very in-group based. What began to kind of break up some of that resistance was the need for trade, the need for economic sustainability. And sustainability may really be the key to understanding not only our relationship with others and what it means to be human, but also our relationship with the world around us. I think we often forget that the very idea of business or trade evolved out of the need to sustain and improve the human experience. The ability to do business and be in business, and this is going back to what you mentioned earlier, Alyssa, the ability to do business and be in business may be the only true point of demarcation between us and the other species that we share this planet with, for now at least. Because as Alyssa pointed out, other species can be just, well, as go back, as Mr. Difficult pointed out, other species can be just as animalistic as we can. And as Alyssa pointed out, other species can be just as compassionate and kind and even organized as we can. Other species can build shelter for themselves. Other species do have social ways of entertaining themselves socially. Other species can develop. Absolutely. Other species, some have burials and funerals. So when you're actually looking for that line of what is really different between us and the other species, there aren't that many lines the more we pay attention to them. Many of the things that we used to say, oh, they don't do this, those were assumptions that didn't come from intentional observation. But when it comes to the ability to do business and be in business, it really may be the only point. And we want to drive this point home a little more, because it's not just that this is something unique about the human experience. There is another very important factor here that we want to kind of walk you through.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and explore this, how the evolution of business has shaped the evolution of what it means to be human.
Can you just say that line one more time?
Sure. How the evolution of business has shaped the evolution of what it means to be human.
Okay, I'm gonna let you finish in just a minute. I really like what you're saying. I'm gonna let you finish. Doing treats an early form of an economy. Hey, it kind of is. And in that way, because this is something that I think about, let people be but outspoken against. Yes, absolutely. This is one of the things, one of my fringe thoughts, is that, our own socialization and as a species and evolution, if you will, social evolution has much been monkey see, monkey do type of thing, where we watched others pushing the envelope and then we did the same thing. We still do that today. Breaking records is basically monkey see, monkey do, which is a beautiful thing when you think about it that way. But in that way, I wonder if we wonder, how is our evolution impacting those other species, especially those that we are domesticating and pulling very close to us? How is that possibly impacting, whatever it could be?
Yeah. That's a good point, though.
And that is
observation for us to see.
And also just that line, because I made you read it like twice, but better. Yes. I really want you all to think about that. And we're going to talk through it here, but I want you to think about how the evolution of business, and when we think about business, we're really more so thinking of trade, commerce, and those things. Business as a holistic thing, not just as yo business, ain't none of your friends' business, ain't none, anyway. So has shaped the evolution of, have you ever thought about how the evolution of business has shaped the evolution of human identity and what it means to be human? Okay, you can go now. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, this is good, because at one point, just let's go back. At one point, for much of human history, there were only two business roles, if you will, for humanity. And they were, can you guess? Hunter or gatherer.
And I want you to think about that. Think about what that means. That means if you would have been born, and when was that? That was 2.5 million years ago to roughly 10,000 BC. Which I'm gonna stop using BC and start using the human era calendar. But roughly, if you would have been born in that time span, which by the way is the largest time span of human existence, for the largest time of human existence, you could have only identified as two things. You were either a hunter or a gatherer. There were no other options for you. That was your human identity at that time. Yeah. Right. All right, man. I'm sorry. You can go ahead. I just had to.
And so, and then we see hunter gatherers. Then we eventually see the tool makers, scout, elder, and storytellers.
Got some options
that time, right? So you got a little bit of options there. But then we move to agrarian societies, right? From 2000 BC to 10,000 BC. Where did I get two from? 10,000 BC. To the Middle Ages. And so then we start to see farmers, herders, millers, traders, and craftsmen. And mind you, the hunter and gatherers, they haven't gone anywhere, right? You still had those options. So it's not necessarily replacing the elders or storytellers or the scouts, because we still have those, right?
Absolutely.
It's kind of adding on. And then from the agrarian societies, we merge or go into the craftsmanship.
That is true.
Then we have artisans, trade routes, and markets, and that's what pre-5th to the 15th centuries. And you start to see blacksmiths, weavers, potters, carpenters, jewelers, doctors, lawyers, merchants, ship captains, caravan leaders, innkeepers, money lenders. And so you kind of see this expansion of the options of what we can do and what needs to be done.
And in many ways, that expands what we can consider as a part of our identity, who we are. So even Well, absolutely. Now here's the thing: these things wildly predate, but they were not wildly accessible as career options. So yeah, plenty of things. And remember, we've talked about this before, Michael. None of these things are linear. So anytime you look for things that are linear like that, you're not going to find that. What I look for when I look at research is when something becomes a statistical norm. So yes, while it does predate the Middle Ages, it was not a statistical norm before the Middle Ages. And then even like, again, with the mention of the cave drawings, yes, people were doing art. It was not a form of business prior to then, right? So I do want to make sure that we're understanding and grasping those nuances. Otherwise, we might miss the point. And I don't want anybody to miss the point. So even when you get to the 15th to the 18th century, you start getting into more of mercantilism, where you start getting roles like colonial administrators, shipbuilders, exporters, importers, warehouse managers, custom officers, musicians, police officers, politicians, bankers, salespersons, teachers, poets. They are, but again, they were not widespread, which would be the point. Statistical norm. So statistical norm mean they're present pretty much across the globe. Nothing was a statistical norm in the Neolithic ages. Not in market sense anyway. But again, and of course that's not even the point. But taxis, singers, exactly, yeah, that is true. That is true. Then you have the Industrial Revolution, 18th century to the 19th century, where now you're getting factory workers, industrial engineers, railroad operators, coal miners, textile operators, actors, restaurateurs, hostesses, waiters, journalists. Now, if anybody wants to say there were waiters and restaurateurs in the Neolithic Middle Ages, be my guest. Architects, engineers, and then by the time you get into the 9th century and beyond, you have such roles as CEO, CFO, marketing director, human resources manager, production manager, authors, athletes, makeup artists. And yes, there were authors in the Neolithic ages, but they did not make money for that. And remember, this section is about business. Makeup artists, set designers, sandwich artists, short order cooks, sous chefs, recruiters, project managers, sales managers, logistical coordinators, software developers, data analysts, digital marketers. What is the point here? The point here is that at one point, the options of what you could identify as a human were very limited. Were very limited. Well, I think that's debatable. I think that's debatable. It was very limited. And exactly right, Mr. Difficult. It was rooted around survival. The more we have learned how to collaborate, the more we have learned how to collectively work together, we have created life for new possibilities for human identity. And that's the point. So yes, you can nitpick and say, oh, these were already existing. That's really not the point of the conversation, though. The point of the conversation is how business has shaped the identity of humanity. I wouldn't, again, Michael, because that's not the point of the conversation. It's really interesting how all different forms of tech allow society to take care of their community's basic needs so people can focus more on explore. And that is the point. Thank you. I'm so glad somebody gets it. Oh my goodness. Let's not putting up Michael's stuff because he's not getting it. Michael, when you're ready to join the conversation we're having, I'd be glad to have you in this one. Otherwise, that's just kind of disruptive at this moment, man. But the activity of doing business has been pivotal in our march towards autonomy, meaning making, value creation, and the purposeful actualization of individuals, wherein our identities are not automatically restricted to basic survival functions. This empowers us to explore human capacity against the backdrop of the safety of collective work and collaboration, therefore continuously redefining what it means to be human. That what it means to be human has never been a static constant. It has evolved with us every step of the way. And what I found intriguing was something that I had never thought of before, is that the way we have engaged commerce, trade, and economics has played an immense role in shaping what it means to be human today. You know, not just in how we treat each other, but how we identify in the world and how we want to be treated. Imagine being alive during the hunter-gathering period and just having this really big thing in you that wants to dance or that wants to paint and that wants to make music and that really wants to invest the majority of your time in doing those things as opposed to actually, helping the village survive. It would have been much more difficult at that time. And it's again, so as we have evolved, what it meant to be human, 2.5 million years ago, 10,000 BC, or even 100 years ago, it is very different than what it may mean to be human today. There were very different than what it means to be human, today. Yeah. And that's really the point. Is that if we can track that trajectory, then we might as well prepare ourselves that what it means to be human tomorrow may even be more expansive, may even have more to that. I thought that was such a poignant and significant reality, because it really brings us back to this idea that of what it means to be human isn't something that's necessarily set in stone.
Exactly. And so there are several definitions. So let's look at some of these common definitions of business to really drive this point home. So we're talking about business here. And one of the definitions are: business is an activity that someone is engaged in. Simply an activity that you're engaged in.
That's business.
Another definition of business is a person's concern. Work that has to be done or matters that have to be attended to. Another definition: the practice of making one's living by engaging in commerce. Trade, considered in other terms of its volume or profitability. A commercial operation or company.
And the way I like to define business, and this is just the collaboration of people towards sustainable business activity. Or even the ability to add value to human activity in whatever ways, ain't that the truth? In whatever ways you may define value. Somewhat sporadically. Yep. That is true. Yeah. The concept of trade, definitely, doing business, the activity of business, it is definitely a line of demarcation, at least for now. Who knows what'll happen over the next, 100 or so years. But the big point here is that a major point of being human seems to be both experimenting with and appreciating ways that individuals may evolve to both provide and receive unforeseen value, ultimately representing the evolution of human identity, activity, and otherwise business. And to really drive this point home for those of you who may not get the point that's being made here, is this isn't just stuff about ancient civilization. When I was a kid, if you would have told somebody that I want to be that I want to be a YouTube influencer when I grow up, you know what I'm saying? Or even, it wouldn't even have to be that. If you told them I wanted to be a famous athlete, I wanted to be a famous actor, the way this plays on human identity, there are plenty of parents that would have told them that's unreasonable. 100 years ago, no, we got to take care of this farm. That's unreasonable. That's an option that's not available to you in mass, and it's only when options become available to people in mass that other people are willing to accept that as a possible route for their own identity and purpose. And so the more we've evolved new business roles, business types, it's created new identity types. There are people who make it a major part of their identity that they are a musician, or that they are a performer, or that they are a chef, or that they're a computer programmer. And these options would not have been available to them before. And so the big point there is that this idea of being human evolves as we do. Now, moving on to this final point. Oh, did you have something, babe?
Oh, no, I was saying that was good, because as we evolved or learned more about how to do business with each other, that created more roles in society.
Yeah, absolutely. And it literally changes the fabric of society, of what society means. Like if you take a hunter, not even just hunter-gatherer societies, you take agrarian societies and try to put them, in any what we would call first world country today, or any, you know, any one of those cities and provinces, and it looks like, oh, what happened here? It's a huge mix up. But this next section and the last section for today's session is the barriers of yesterday and the boundless tomorrow. And so when I think about like what have been the barriers to us seeing the humanity of other people? Exactly. Yeah. Aren't as financially viable on average. Now, actually, I'll rephrase that. It's not that they're not financially viable. It's that most people are not disciplined enough to do what it takes. So a lot of the people, and this is a hot point for me, because again, that's one of the industries that I am in. And I will tell you, 90% of the people who pursue that don't pursue it critically. So 90% of people who want to be an artist literally just make music from their house or just do stuff, you know, from their home. They don't even try to go get trained. Now, when you actually look at those statistics for the people who say, no, I'm treating this like a career, this is something I want to do, and they do go to Juilliard or whatever other schools that are out there. Howard has an excellent program. When you actually look at the people who aim in those directions to go, the percentages are not that low. The percentages are much higher for people to get into acting and become successful musicians when they go through certain routes, because I think one of the magical thinking thing that people do on this side, which such was I, is thinking, no, I'm just talented and somebody's going to discover me and give me a shot, instead of actually saying, okay, now the people who have made it, what routes did they take to get there? And when you do that, you will find out that a high percentage of people who have become somewhat successful, even mediocrely successful, not even talking about your A-listers, the people who've even gotten mediocre success were people who paid attention to those routes and actually took those processes. I have a lot of friends right now that I'm trying to beat this into their head because they've been struggling for 10 years. And I'm telling them, you're struggling because you're not even trying. You're not aiming. You're begging people to support something that you don't even believe in enough to support yourself. And but it is still a conversation. But I think parents need to get informed before telling their children that. Don't you dare tell your children what's not possible if you haven't even educated yourselves on the possibilities. Because the thing is, what was possible when you was a child may no longer be impossible today. And the truth of the matter is, I think what committed and dedicated people consistently demonstrate is that there is not much that is impossible outside of the things that are physically impossible. And that's one of the things that I believe that religion has definitely done major damage, especially superstition has, on people, is that we actually treat ourselves like we're absolutely fragile and that we are not capable of learning how to make things happen. If you want to make it, I believe you can. And I'm only saying that because just 5 years ago, my family lost everything and literally had to figure out how to do it. Networks. Thank you. Yeah. Yes, sir. Exactly. Because the internal drama, and there is a lot of internal drama. Yes. Hi, Kenny Jean. I love that name. All right. So y'all always get me on these rabbit trails.
But we were on the perceived barriers.
Oh, yeah.
Socially.
So these are things that we've used before to socially kind of be like, oh, I don't know if this person is human or not. And I want you to think about this. We've used ethnicity and race as barriers to humanity. We've used religious groups as barriers to humanity. And when I say these things, I mean, as the way we treat those people. You know, we're going to treat you as subhuman or inhuman, or treat you as if the way you're living is inhumane. We've done this, of course, with the LGBTQ plus community. And then think about this. And I mean, not too long ago, I don't even know if 100 years ago, but not too long ago, we as a species were A-OK, at least on the Western side of things, were A-OK putting people in with disabilities and like just throwing them away in buildings. Like this was a part of how we viewed humanity. And you know, not to make excuses for that, but to just kind of provide the nuance. At that time, those people's thoughts was, well, these people are never going to have a human life. They're never going to be able to enjoy life. And thankfully, we've been able to evolve a little bit since then and realize that you know, nobody is living with the death sentence per se, that people can, do what they want to do. And our communities of people with disabilities have done great work to really demonstrate those things. But then also impoverished people. We often sometimes, business management major, work in finance, holla at me. I need some help. Impoverished people, like seriously, have you ever noticed how sometimes we may treat people who are homeless, people who are down on their luck? Yeah, we've made some improvements. It's like when you look at the history of humanity and how we've treated each other just across the spectrum, it's frightening at times, but at the same time, it is encouraging, because you do see that, we learned from that. I mean, we did that for a very long time. It was really bad. We learned from that. I think we can let Michael back in. I think he's good now. But we learned from that. Money until they can get back the time. Oh, absolutely, for sure. Generally trade times, absolutely. But impoverished people. But then here's some things for that we haven't stopped doing this. We've actually added new ones. Contributing member of society, and what we mean is, are you feeding the capitalist machine? Yeah. I don't know if I agree with that, Alyssa, because again, I've mentioned this before, and that's just because I know people, and I have people who do not contribute. That was the environment I grew up in. The environment I grew up in, people were getting food stamps, and I'm not trying to denigrate people. I'm talking about my life, my experience. But I was surrounded by people who literally took advantage of the system and did absolutely nothing with any of that advantage, not only to move their own lives forward, but to actually help the community. And to drive that point home, I lived in several different communities when I was growing up. All of them are still dilapidated, and all of those people who were doing those things 30 years ago are still doing those things. So you do not get healthy economics if people are part of the system and not contributing. That's not fair. Now, if we can say that it's not fair for billionaires not to pay taxes, then it means it's not fair for anybody not to pay taxes, right? Or at least that's what that should mean, at least in my mind. Because I have a relative who is literally, if you come to my community, you would be surprised. I am not exaggerating here. Yeah. I am not exaggerating here. Absolutely. Oh, yes. I do love the Democratic Socialist Organization. But yes, I am not exaggerating here. It's come to Dothan, Alabama. Both can happen at the same time. That's right. But no, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be the infrastructure. It should be your community. You don't need federal government to do what's right for your community. Yeah. My community has been begging for better education for over 60 years. But none of the people, and I'm just speaking about this community that I live in, we literally have organizations that beg for this. None of them have organized to produce better education. None of them are holding themselves accountable to those things. So yes, while I know that there are people out there who are truly struggling and are trying their best, I will not make excuses for the people that I know for a fact are not, and I will not allow those other people who are really struggling to get grouped up with those same people, because that is not fair. And that's what happens. Ooh, that might have to be a whole conversation too. That might have to be a whole conversation. But look at some of these labels we use today. And capitalist and socialist might be some of those labels we use as barriers to people's humanity. You definitely hear it a lot in America. Oh, that's a socialist agenda, or that's a communist agenda. But a lot of times, even here, I hear, oh, that's a capitalist agenda. And I'm like, I often wonder when people are using these terms, if they've actually acclimated themselves, to what they mean. There is a severe lack of class consciousness, for sure. But I also think there is a severe lack of belief in human capacity. Because I can tell you for sure, the community that I live in, the primary reason that a lot of my friends, my family members are still stuck is because they believe that God is the one who is supposed to fix their life. Yeah. Thank you. Oh man, it aggravates me because my wife and I, we started a school in our neighborhood for people who couldn't afford it. Homeschool. Ask us how many people supported it.
We had to. We literally did it ourselves, guys.
Literally.
So we started. We did it in our home. We were like a homeschool co-op.
Everything that I've ever had to do for my community, I've had to do pulling teeth. And this is actually one of the reasons I became an atheist, is because I realized that these religious, superstitious, magical thinking had really helped us back. I support people supportive of government since that actually. But see, here's the thing: we are the government. No one. We did it by ourselves. But people who are waiting for the government to fix their problems are politically disconnected from what it means to be a democracy. The government cannot fix anything if you're not a part of the government. We, the people, all right? So that means we have to get active. You can't just sit down and vote for somebody, especially after voting for 20 plus years on the lesser of two evils, and expect to have a healthy government. And you can't blame the government for that because you are the government. We have to blame ourselves. Government, politics, religions, these are inactive agents. They only have activity based off of the operations of people. So any problems we have in this society are people problems, and people have to step up to the plate instead of just pointing the finger. Sorry. That really aggravates me because everybody wants to blame somebody else instead of becoming a part of the solution.
Yeah, and that's the thing we try to drive home. Even when we met with people, we have had meetings in our home where a few people came, not a lot, and we talked about how can we solve our own problems. And education was a big one amongst other things. We taught our own kids. We have our two oldest kids are both in the same grade, and one is only 14. Yep. 14, and she's going to the 11th grade. They both have 4.0 above averages, right? And so we've had meetings, and they'll show up and say, "Yeah, I'll take the papers and everything," but they don't get active, right? But we have to hone in on the idea that we can solve our own solutions, but we have to come together and connect. Hence, build the community to do so.
I agree with that, Dade, 100%. And absolutely, Chris.
Yes.
I think as long as we keep doing that, we'll keep doing it. But like, I take that, I consider that as a defeatist mentality. And I'm like, no, you can stop. You can stop. I don't know what it is about Americans, but the idea of owning your government seems to be lost on them. And that really bothers me, but I think that speaks to the poor education system in this country. Absolutely, Kim. That was the reason I became an atheist, like for sure, because I began seeing that. I watched people struggle for damn near 30 years, all hoping, all believing they were trying. Let me tell my fucking story. I thought that I was trying my best for 20 years, and I could not figure out why I was broke. I could not figure out why I was poor. I could not figure out why it was like everything to feed my damn children. And then after I became an atheist, and it still took me a few years, I started realizing Darante, you've never critically engaged economics in this country at all. You've never critically engaged what it means to be successful. And I'm not saying everybody should have to do that. I think I talked about this recently. It should be a conversation that people should even have to do this. Yes. That should be a conversation. But the fact that people have to do this is a problem that we created. Financial literacy. And I had to get it. And then what I realized is that contrary to what I wanted to believe, at one point in my life, I wanted to believe that I wasn't financially, better because the devil was fighting me or because God wanted to hold something back from me. Another point in my life, I wanted to believe that I wasn't financially okay because there was nothing I can do, no matter how hard I try. I'd never be there. And then in 2017, I realized, forgive my language, nigga, you ain't tried.
You took control. You said, okay, let me take control of my life.
Yeah. Stop servicing federal debt. That is a good point. But yeah, it became leaving religion gave me freedom to recreate my life and recraft my life. And so if y'all ever notice, I'm very much anti victim ideology, victim philosophy, because I believe in yep. I really just believe in the human capacity. That's why I'm all about celebrating human life. We are all we have. Power does not concede without a fight. And Sharabaseti. I spoke in tongues on that one. Yes. But no, like straight up. And that's why I'm an advocate of building community. And I hope y'all notice that my goal really isn't to get you to think like us, to do things that we do. I want the freedom to think like me. I want to know that you don't hate me because of my thoughts, right? And I will always give you the freedom to think like you, because I think that's the only way we're going to get diverse communities. That's the only way we're going to get inclusive communities. And that's the only way where we're really going to have something. I know it was amazing, right? It was beautiful. You should have heard me in my heyday. Oh, like Paul, I spoke in tongues more than you all. But no, seriously, man, it's this type of stuff that I love, because these are the conversations that we need to have. But truth be told, like, and this is the honest truth, we're not all going to agree. And this is why we all need to be building community. We all need to be building community, so we have places to have these conversations. Yes, man. And that's so hard. You know, it is so hard because you want to be careful. I know even with me, when I was kind of going through my process and realizing, you know, the inactivity I had in my own life, you know, I don't want to come on paying for I tried keeping up with the Joneses. Yes. Like I kept being forced to keep up with the Joneses. Mob rule.
But I hope all in
democracy is actually mob rule. But okay, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry, babe.
Oh, you're fine. I was just gonna say, I hope all in all, what you do learn from here or start to think about is that we all have the capacity to expand and do what we need to do. And so let's try to clean out the mindset that I can't do, we can't do, or this is what has always been done, so there's nothing to do. We have the capacity to do what needs to be done. Yep. We just have to group together to get it done. Anytime you come up to the point of you say, well, we can't do this, that may or may not be true. I'm not a stiffler on that any kind of way, but what I would encourage you to do is to ask why. What is it that prevents us from doing this? What is the stumbling block? What needs to happen in order for us to do this? That's called organizing, you know, at least from a political aspect. And I'll go, many of you know, I spent quite a few years as a Black nationalist and still in many ways identify as such, and especially along the Pan-Africanist sense. I just hope that it's not necessary. I hope that humans evolve so quick and that we get our stuff together, that globalism becomes what we need, right? But I love that we can continue to network because someone has the answer. But I would give to the secular community the same advice that I gave to the Black nationalist communities is don't even focus on overthrowing or any of that. Focus on making what they have irrelevant to your community. Organize your community. Yes. I hope not. I'd hope not. No. Dang, what was I saying? I was reading the comments.
See that we all up in there. But yeah. No, I don't know what else. Oh, yes. Make them irrelevant. Start pulling people together, start organizing, start seeing what is among you, start taking inventory of what your needs are as a community, what your needs are as individuals, and then make their stuff irrelevant to the community.
Can do, but
do it well. The motto that we live by in our house is do the work, do it right, do your best, and do the most. But in order to do that, what I find is you have to get past this pessimism of human capacity. You have to believe that money is nothing without people, not the other way around. You have to believe that economics are nothing without people, not the other way around. You have to believe that communities are nothing without people, not the other way around. And you have to believe that people are capable of upscaling, and becoming whatever they need with the right support, because you have to support each other, you know, with the right support and with the right network. And the truth of the matter is, these are things that as a society, especially in the West, we've been kind of disconnected from in a lot of ways, which is why I still advocate for church, because church is nothing more than a sociological experiment. And which is what I'm encouraging everybody else to do. Yeah, no kind of dictatorship. Is what I'm encouraging everybody to do, is to build communities where you can experiment with these problems. The status quo definitely equals rule by crooks, for sure. Now, they do this already to a point. I recommend, yes, we stood on shoulders. I love it. But look out for these other labels for ways, barriers to humanity. People who may vote differently from you, people who may eat differently. That's a big one now. People who love differently, and that's not always just. There was something I wanted to add to that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we what we typically use as a barrier to humanity is just people being different, period.
Yeah.
And it really begs the question if there are any other modern labels that we use to deprive people of their humanity, which can often be found anywhere. Hasty generalizations are validated without good faith investigation. Speaking of heathens, that's the name of the documentary that I was participating in this week. So be on the lookout for that.
You know what? You kind of touched on that last week on people who love differently. Remember we talked about hugs? Not everybody likes hugs. And you run into that. Oh, you don't want a hug. You don't want.
Do you know how offensive it is? Like, actually, thank you for bringing it up, because someone made a comment on my birthday post, and I was like, "Oh, I feel sorry for your wife because you seem like a person who's never happy with anything." And I was like, "What?" But because I did on that post, I told them, I said, I'm not the person who really does like small talk, happy birthday stuff like that, especially if it's coming from people who are not in relationship with me. It doesn't give me any excitement. But that person used that idea to dehumanize me.
Yeah.
That person used that to say, oh, well, you're not human because you don't like people saying happy birthday. Fuck your happy birthday. Like, oh my God. Like, no, I don't have to like what you like. And I resent that heavily, because I spent, literally my whole childhood feeling like something was wrong with me because I didn't, relate the way other people related. And so then, like, I spent like the majority of my adulthood forcing myself to behave in ways that just were not comfortable for me at all. And so now I've become very, vocal about who I am and the things that I like, which, that's how healthy relationships work. But you'd be surprised at how often we put people in these boxes and say, oh, because you don't do something that I think is human, then you're not human.
Whether to say happy,
yes. Whether to say happy Sabbath, like seriously, right? Yeah. But yeah. So that's my little rabbit trail.
Yeah, I love it. So I think overall we just need to embrace a more collaborative view of what happens or what it means to be human in order to even better understand our evolving capacity. So with every person we meet and every story we hear, we learn more about what it means to be human. Being very careful not to enthrone our own experience as the prototype of all humanity. So that's what we're looking at. Okay. You commented on his birthday post.
Yeah.
All right. And the barriers of yesterday were rooted in our tendency to attempt to hold others hostage to our interpretations of what it means to be human, as opposed to being willing to learn from others to get a more holistic perspective of the diversity of humanity.
Yep. I love it. And thank y'all for sharing that. Because that really is the point. The point is that no one is a prototype of humanity. We're all learning what it means to be human by learning other humans, Oh yeah. I love it. And I love this because it kind of goes back to what I kind of said at the top, that I kind of embrace life now. Like, I'm the blind man touching an elephant, and I say blind in the sense because I know that I don't know everything. To me, I always tell people ignorance is thinking you know everything. Intelligence is knowing that you don't know everything. It's knowing that you are somewhat flying blind. Anything that you don't know, you really don't know. And so that life is very much for me, or at least the way that I approach it when it comes to humanity, is I am the blind man touching the elephant. I can describe what I'm experiencing to the best of my capacity, but I'm not going to get a really clear picture of this or a clear understanding of this until I can hear back from everybody else who's touching that elephant too. Which I think is part of the reason, society, I've done a video on why atheism is kind of spreading the way that it is. It's because with with the internet now, the internet has kind of made everybody who's touching the elephant can talk about what they're touching, and it's allowing people to get somewhat of a better view, a holistic view that's on the whole other line. Absolutely. No one can know everything. And that's why, I do have strong opinions, about things. But one of the things that I do try to be clear about, and I hope you all appreciate it, is that, I'm not here to give answers. I share some things. I share some things. And hopefully what I really hope is that you use those things to think about yourself. Um, that you think about some things yourself, and perhaps maybe you'll come up with new ideas or different things to do. Otherwise, definitely what I'm not looking for is any type of blind conformity or uniformity. I've often said that unity doesn't have to be unison. Unison means we're all hitting the same key. We don't have to all be hitting the same key in this. You know what I'm saying?
Unless you're on my dance team.
Oh yeah, and well, I mean, if you're in my band, I'm gonna need you to be hitting the right notes now. But this is life, and life is more beautiful when it's harmonious. And I think we do need to learn how to disagree, and I also think we need to learn how to learn from each other's perspectives. Especially anytime I see anybody passionately rooted in an idea, I definitely want to learn about what is it that shifted you there. Not necessarily mean that I'm going to buy into that idea, but I definitely want to know. So as we continuously learn to appreciate the diversity of human experience, we unlock for ourselves boundless opportunity to move our world continuously forward in the preservation, celebration, and appreciation of this experience that we call life. Oh yeah, Worldwide Church of God. What? Hebrew Roots Movement. I'm going to have to look at that one. I'm definitely going to have to look at that one. I'm familiar with the Hebrew Israelites, the Moors, the Moravians, the Peruvians, and it's a lot of weird stuff out there. Wesley Snipes was affiliated for a brief time with the Moravians. I think that's their name. I feel like I'm saying their name wrong. And of course, the 5 Percenters. Oh yeah, man. Oh my goodness.
No, not
the Moors tried their hardest to get me. Yeah, I figured that was not the same. I figured. Make sure you join us back next week. Next week, we're going to be moving this conversation right along to be dealing with when people lived with people.
Yes, and thank you so much for joining us this week of Sunday Sessions. We had some good conversations, some great back and forth. We appreciate your comments and your activity and engagement. Continue to do that. Consider joining us again next week, and perhaps bring a friend.
Yeah.
Make sure you like, subscribe. If you haven't already, hit the notification bell. Leave another comment after the live as well to continue that conversation. Join our community. Volunteer. We need volunteers. Of course, we're going to include the links to that, or check the description. Buy some merch. That's another way to support. Dope. We definitely appreciate it.
Dope.
We got the little phrasing, keep rising, because that's what we're going to do anyway.
Yep.
All right. And make sure you share this with anybody that you can.
And in traditional church fashion, this is offering time. So we're going to go ahead and get the offering basket around. But no, seriously, if you're interested in financially supporting the work that we're doing, we've made it easy. Of course, you can do so through Super Chats or joining Patreon or our YouTube membership program. You can also purchase merchandise from us to financially support, or you can support through any of the links in our description. What links? We're going to go ahead and drop some of those volunteer links in now, Chris. Your financial support will be used in the spirit of transparency to improve the quality and quantity of the channel content, to develop support resources and networks to accelerate community development globally, because we have people who are interested in building bridges, not just in the States, but in Canada, in Australia, in Scotland. And so we have people everywhere, and we want to be able to build support resources and networks for them. And also support qualified individuals in their full-time commitment towards the needs of secular communities. So as we realize that more needs are arising, and that they need some full-time effort, we'd want to be able to power those efforts. Also power live and simulcasted meetups and events domestically and abroad with high-powered and impactful speakers and facilitators. Yes. And then also to generate resources of support for individuals across the globe, regardless of their campus or community affiliation, because people need help. I love that. People need help. And so we do have a lot of mission projects and programs that we want to kind of get back in the swing of things. And that really brings us to developing projects and programs that support people-centric solutions. So again, if you like to financially support the work that we do, there are plenty of ways that you can do it. And the only thing that we ask is that you do it according to your reasonable capacity. We ask that, listen, if you can't afford to financially support, do not. I want to make that as very clear. Like, if you're behind on your bills, if you have financial priorities, don't feel the need to give a whole bunch of stuff. You know, we'll make do as we're moving forward. Right now, we have full-time jobs, so we're not expecting anybody to pay our bills. This is for the community. Oh, that is a great question. Is that the region you're in? And just asking, but that's definitely an region that I'm highly interested in for very, very, very many reasons. Right. Yes. Yes. Understood.
Yes. And so now that you know a little bit more about us and our vision, we're comfortable enough to extend the invitation for you to join us in the work in whatever way that makes sense for you. Like my husband said, please, if you're financially in a bind, there's other ways to support besides monetary giving. So you can help us build this online community that we call BridgeCity Global. So excited about it, what we're doing on Sundays. Also, you can, and I'm going to put the link in the chat so it can already be there.
Good to see you, Matt. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. Hey, Matt. You can help build a local community, which can be an autonomous bridge community in your city. You can connect with this community, BridgeCity Global. Learn by attending and participating in group sessions. So if you want to get connected, stay connected, get involved, support, just attend, participate in the group conversations. Come to the pre and post sessions that we have in our Discord. Grow by exploring and engaging diverse ideas and perspectives, and also support by volunteering and giving according to your reasonable capacity. So those are just some light ways that you can get involved with us.
And of course, if you decided, I love that, Matt. If you decided to accept this invitation to connect on any of those levels, that form is in the chat. And we also have those forms in our descriptions. We'll be dropping some more forms too. So one of the forms every time I say form, I hear Ice Cube. But one of them is, how may we help you? And that is, we want to learn from you about what it is that you need from community, what it is that you think is missing from secular community, what you think this community may need more of, or maybe you just want to, give us kudos, which this last person did. You can feel free to fill out that form and just share whatever that's really all man's, any man's, I don't know, no man's, I don't know, something. It's all falls, whatever you want to do there, whatever you want to communicate to us there. It's like it's a catch-all. That's what I was looking for. It's a catch-all form. So anything you want to share with us, you can use that form. We also have a form for those of you who are specifically wanting to build a bridge community in your city, in your area, your town, or wherever you are. We'd love to be able to support you through that process and help you with you. Now, and of course, that will still be fully autonomous, which means we don't really run any dictatorships over here. So that's really our goal, is to spur the creation of autonomous communities. Ooh, IT and web stuff. We need all of that. We need all of that. Yes. And of course, if you are interested in getting actively involved in BridgeCity Global, which is what we're doing on these Sundays, which is our online progressive thinking, people-centric, and life-affirming community, let us know as well. And that way we'll put you to work. We shared a little bit at the beginning of this video, some of the teams that we're looking for volunteer support on, and some of the things that we expect from community members, which Baby Girl did just read over some of those. If I can highlight them again, if I find them, and that's just learn by attending and participating in conversations, grow by exploring and engaging diverse ideas and perspectives, and support by volunteering and giving according to your reasonable capacities. And we have an amalgam of different teams that you can get involved with. And at the end of the day, any way that you're involved with helping us, just prepare to be involved with people a lot, because that's what this is. We're progressive thinking, people-centric, life-affirming. We do want to honor your time. Right. And there we go. That's what I'm talking about. Y'all, please make sure y'all give me this information on these forums, because that's making me so happy. It's making me so happy. And I also do a little computer dev myself, and I do have a little startup that I'm working on, looking for some help in those areas. So, you know, hey. But no, this is all very exciting. Please make sure to fill out those forms so we'll have your information. Also, be very patient with us, because as of now, we're the only 2 volunteers, plus our kids every now and then. Holy snap! No way! Oh yeah. We're gonna have to we're gonna have to have a whole conversation. We're gonna have to have a whole group I'm gonna have to create I'm a project manager. Literally, that's what I do. That's what I do. I love that. But you have no idea how valuable that is, though. Like, no idea how valuable that is. And you already know I am a super duper fan of your personality. So that is definitely something we can put to use. I'm sorry, I keep clicking them when you clicking them.
Oh, that's what I'm like, what is going on?
We're gonna have to put a Discord together for our dev folks. Like, we're gonna have to put a Discord channel together, because I really want to talk to these dev folks. Not the Hunger Games version. No, hey man, you know I mean it. You know I mean it. All right, have we missed anything, babe?
No, I think we haven't missed anything. Oh,
beautiful. Yeah. Well, listen, man, thank you all for joining us today. Again, we're the only volunteers, so for those of you who are filling out forms, please. Okay, yeah, I will. Oh, that just jumped in my way. Let me put the Discord.
Yeah, you click the link. If you're not registered, it's gonna make you register, but just follow the steps. And
this is our Discord. As of next week, we will be having pre-session meet and greets 15 to 20 minutes before Sunday sessions start. And then after, we'll hang out for about 20 minutes in the Discord. And so it's going to be cool. I love it. I love it. Non-profit. Yes. I remember you mentioning that, Matt. And man, we want to support that every way that we can. These are key areas. And again, and that's something that I do want to highlight. Thank you for mentioning that, Matt, is that whatever community you're looking at starting in your area does not have to look like ours. Like that, the whole point is that it needs to be unique, and it needs to be, and really going beyond that is that it needs to address a community itself needs to address a variety of needs and a variety of unique differences. And so I don't care what type of community you're starting. If you want to do it in conjunction with us, we're willing to be affiliated and to support. It could be a roller skating group for all I care. Because at the end of the day, it's not just secular community that I want to see. Even though I do believe secular community is paramount, just I want to see healthier people relationships at the end of the day. Somebody just joined the
all right, who's jumping in?
They jumped in the pre-session meet and greet, and then somebody else just jumped in the pre-session meet and greet. Y'all switch over to the post-session hangout. Switch over to the post-session hangout, and I'll hang out a little bit, and then you'll actually probably get to see me in a few of my vices, because I do have vices. I just saw you. Okay. Oh man, who's Arthur's Fist? That's a new. Oh, I see. I got you. All right. So we're gonna get ready to jump in there too. Joe, Mr. Difficult, switch over to the post-session hangout. And for everybody else, we love y'all. Anybody that wants to join the Discord, please check that out. Until next time, keep rising, stay progressive, stay beautiful, be the bridge, and make sure to bring a friend next time, because you cannot be the bridge by yourself. All right, we'll holler at you. I was about to end it, but we gotta do the brand thing.
You literally, I'm like, okay,
I know. I can't even get to it now. Can you get to it?
Yeah.
Oh man, I love it.